some good news without a rebuttal. Yes, just yeah. The pink cloud is not an Airbnb or a month to month. It can be a living arrangement the rest of your life. Yes. So this idea that, oh, everything always has to go back. You know, when sometimes people will share and they share about the freedom, but they always bookend it with, but I'm still fucked, you know? It's just sort of a weird mental thing. So the book says, you know, we are 100 men and women who have recovered. So it's basically that one part has been fulfilled, and now there's the business of recovery can go on. Yeah. So that one condition which is being loaded, which keeps us from recovering, we have recovered from that. Yeah. So we have recovered from the door that keeps that traffic coming, and now we can get into the act of recovery. Yeah. So they said we are 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. And that is definitely part of the recovery, is you see a hopeless state as a seemingly hopeless state. And you see your role in things, that the hopeless state was appearing to be true to you. Yeah. It wasn't true, because obviously many of us have gotten sober and have recovered from that seemingly hopeless state. If it was a hopeless state, there would be no recovery, obviously. Hopeless means hopeless. It doesn't mean hopeless and then, we were only kidding. We can get out of it. Yeah. So AA has us, really offers us a promise that we will be restored to sanity concerning the insanity that precedes the first drink. Yes? That's really their target, one of the targets, and they've succeeded. A lot of people may have gone back out, but they have had periods of time where they were free from that insanity. So AA already succeeded. They proved that this could happen over 80 years now, however long it is. Yeah. Now, will it happen to you is another story, because it's going to be based not so much on the program, but on you. Yeah. And if there's just a modicum of willingness, and how much willingness do you need for an hour? Yeah. An hour, you could just sort of say, hey, listen, I'm going to distract myself. Even Die Hard 7 will hold your attention for at least an hour of the movie. Yeah. You can probably make it an hour. And then the willingness may grow, because it's not your willingness, really. It's a willingness. It's like a seed. It may grow in what you call your garden, but it's not a garden seed. Yeah, we've gotten willingness based on what? Hopefully, uh, they set up a way that the easier, softer way would be when you're contagious with this disease. We don't isolate you or quarantine. We want you to come to meetings. Yeah, so that you can recognize that you have this illness. So it's not like we isolate. That's what they had to do in the past. They'd have to put Uncle Fred up in this attic or send them away to some fucking farm or something like that, because they didn't know what to do with it. But now there's a methodology. Yeah. Isolation, we know, doesn't work, obviously. So we have tons of meetings, and you can be as sick as you can be, and you'll still be accepted at that meeting. Yeah, unless you make a ruckus and shit like that, they'll let you in the next day. So we want that. It's not quarantine or isolation. It's really the we, to be introduced to the we, because there's a lot of power in that we. Yeah, there's a lot of power, like that tradition says. There's a loving God that's expressing itself through our group conscience. So yeah, you may not feel the loving God's expression, but you probably will through the group conscience, because it sort of magnifies it. Yeah, it's sort of like 20 magnifying classes instead of one. You could produce a bigger, like, beam of light, so to speak. So this is the role we play. And just like it says, our creed is, love and tolerance, people feel that when they come in, even though every individual at that meeting is not loving and tolerant at that moment. They probably have judged that person who came in as a bum or something like that. But the person will constantly share, I feel completely accepted here and da da da. But none of us are really accepting of them, not many, while sitting there. So something overrides our individual idea of ourselves or our individual condition, and we produce an effect called love and tolerance. It's mind-boggling, yeah. Because if you took it, it's just like, 30 people in the meeting, like everyone thinks the other person's an asshole. So let's say 20 of them are verifiably an asshole. Yet all of those assholes in this congregation produce a sweet bouquet. They're used to produce something, a loving presence in the room. It's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, it obviously can indicate to you when you start coming out of that ass of self that you're a lot of power wherever you are. And it would be wise to have it directed by something much more clearer than what's been directing it. Yeah. It just, so the whole idea of step 1 and 2 bring you, like in a way, almost like a relishing of the third step, because you found this managing is a huge burden and you're not equipped to be a managerial quality. Yeah. And so, wow, this program is offering to take that load off of us and perhaps introduce us to a better way, which is trust in the infinite rather than the finite self that has seemingly failed us miserably. What an incredible deal. Yeah. And of course, the weirdness is most people don't want to take the deal. Or like a lot of people on a social level are always surprised how many people vote against their own interests. But this is the mental dominance. The head can override your needs, so to speak. And so the people who need it the most probably are the last person to come and get it. It's just the way it goes. It's a weird event. I've never seen more folded arms than in an AA meeting. You know what I mean? When someone new comes to give a share, it's like they're all leaning back with their arms like this, supposedly open-minded. No contempt prior to investigation. You feel like an energetic wall. It's it's incredible. So it's not like AA's working with the most pliant customers. They're working with a lot of fucking rigid knuckleheads, and it still works, which is mind-boggling because it really works against most people's individual interests. Most people don't want to fucking be there usually. They don't. They don't want to be like the person next to them. They don't want to do da, da, dee, da, da. And I do not see how you could call these attributes yours. It seems like an incredible defense mechanism of a parasite. Yeah. So the last place you want to go is where would be the demise of the parasite. And you're wondering why. Yeah. Because you've been taken over. That's all. It's a simple invitation, and it should trigger a lot of evidence in your own life. When you hear the word driven in recovery, we're driven by 100 forms of what? Of mental activities, yeah? And the 100 forms, I would say at least 80 of them are already branded as self, self-hatred, self-pity, self-fucking this, emulation, self. One day I looked at self and the word self about 30 years ago. And in the dictionary, it had self hyphen and about 80 other things, or 100 things, like self-emulation, self-love, self-hate, self-this, and about 80% was sort of what you would call negative, and maybe 10 was sort of what you call positive. So it's not like you're getting, when you get 2 like scoops of ice cream, you're not getting vanilla coffee. You're getting a whole lot of fucking vanilla with a little bit of coffee. and yet we keep ordering the same order. So 80% of the attributes of self are not going to be healthy for the fucking host. We're hosting self, and it's a very, very hostile fucking character to host. So wouldn't you believe that it would have to come up with a great strategy to neutralize the host's ability to be free from it by convincing the host that it's the host? Yeah. So now most of us are caught in this dilemma of self trying to get out of self. So we're trying to get out of the parasite, which has no interest in getting out of the parasite, really. And then we try to get out of the parasite as the parasite. And then we're bewildered why it fails all the time. Because the parasite doesn't want the host to get out of the parasite. It's just that simple. Oh, I think someday it's not going to agree. Yeah. It doesn't see any winning in that formula. Yeah. So basically, some people in the community fantastically saw from an overall view of attempting to be in recovery that there was a dilemma, and that dilemma was stated in a simple saying, and it's profoundly still in the community where I live, which is self can't get out of self. So the parasite can't get out of the parasite. But if you're not the parasite, hallelujah. Yeah. Because maybe you're not actually in the parasite. You believe you are, you believe you were, you may believe you're going to be, but it may not be a fact. And I humbly believe it's not a fact. Yeah. So you can see what has defeated you as not you. And to me, that's the beginning of true freedom from the bondage of self. Yeah. You see that which has defeated us as not us. So when it says abandon yourself to God, I would say self is something other than you. And then that other than that, you abandons this idea of self to God. Let God deal with the fucker. Yeah. Or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. You're not doing well with it, are you? No way. So give it as something greater than you. Yeah. Maybe it can absorb it and change it and use it, even though my feeling in the last few years of being out there, I did not believe I had any usefulness to anyone, truly, to anyone in the society or to me. I really, when I looked at my life, I did not see any value in it. I didn't. I felt like I was a parasite, literally, on people. Yeah. And then when I came into AA, just with that little bit of willingness and that grace, I saw exactly what it says here. Even though you've gone down to such a point, you're going to find out that it's going to be put to great use. It says it some way like that in the book. And that's been my experience. So that which I called completely useless has been put to great use. Yeah. How many other things am I completely wrong about? A lot. Because I've been getting the news from K Parasite. I just have. And it sure sounds like the same radio station you've been listening to. It does. And you buy the same shit and you end up at the same place. Institution jails of death, as they say in Narcotics Anonymous. That's a pretty good description. I mean, you may miss institution jails of death, but not by much. Most of us go into institution jails of death. That's the way it goes. So, how many people have entered the institution of AA? Millions of people, millions. I have seen so many faces I've never seen again. There have been millions and millions. So either the court, their family, their job, something recognized how fucked they were while they thinking they weren't fucked. And they had to go somewhere. Yeah, yeah. And because the patient, him or herself, wasn't recognizing the situation, it didn't matter how many parents sent you or how many warnings you got from your job. You just kept on keeping on. Yeah. The success of AA is there is a solution. It's not in numbers or shit like that. It's the success of AA is they humbly proclaimed there is a solution. Finally, in 1939 in the book. Yeah, there is a solution, because from 1935 to 1939, a lot of people were experiencing a solution. So they made a statement, there is a solution, put out that book, and here we are. Yeah. So now, does it matter if there is a solution if it isn't a solution to you? Not really. It doesn't. Maybe you'd suggest it while you're drunk to the guy next to you at the bar. Yeah, maybe. But in fact, the point is, it has the solution is a living. The definition of a solution to us who are sober, it's a living definition. Yeah. A living definition of there is a solution. Some of us 40 years, 50 years, some of us 40 days. Some of us 30 something, some of them's 30, an hour, 14 hours. But thank fucking whatever that there is a solution, because there wasn't really. Yeah. I used to speak at this church, beautiful place, and then they had a big lectern and a huge Bible on there. And one night I just stopped and looked at it. It was turned to a page from a Psalms. And in that Psalm I was reading, just randomly, it was talking about the hopelessness of winos. They were complaining about winos even back then. It's incredible. So we are living examples of there is a solution. What we are speaks louder than what we say. Yeah. We should come along. It would be nice to have a before and after video we could walk around with. Yeah. Just a short clip, like a TikTok, whatever. Very short click at before and after. There you go. Before the recognition, there is a solution. After the recognition, there is a solution. Wow. Incredible, eh? So this happened with me, came into AA, beat up. I got struck sober, luckily, and AA is the way I've stayed sober. That's being struck sober probably would have died on the vine in a day or two if I hadn't been introduced to AA that night. But I was, and I got caught in that wave, and that I rode that wave for a few years. I didn't give a shit what was going on. I didn't give a shit, God, no God. I was in incredible joy from the relief of that active bondage. Yeah, I was just super happy, stumbling and bumbling, stepping on people's toes, doing 10 steps, making amends. I had to do all this stuff. Yes. And some of the shit was recurring. So I had to make amends more than once in a way. And there were things that overrode me that I thought were caused by drinking and using that weren't caused by drinking and using. The drinking and using had amplified them, but they were there to begin with. And I needed a lot of work. And AA provided me the sanctuary of the solution of recovered from drinking and using a day at a time to get well. I don't know how well I am, but it's well enough right now. Yeah. And so getting recovered from this insanity that precedes the first drink is what opens us up to the recovery program. Yeah. So when it says we're all recovered, doesn't mean we're at the end of recovery. We're still recovering, but we are all recovered from the insanity that precedes the first drink. Believing it or not, if you're not drinking now, day, night, afternoon, you're recovered. Because at one point you couldn't stop drinking day, night, morning, whenever. Yes? So let's tell the truth. There has been a recovery concerning the insanity that led to the first drink, because anyone who ever goes out went out sober, didn't they? If people who are in the program go back and drink, they were sober when that insanity arose. But they didn't have a sufficient enough defense at that moment. And then the parasite got in and directed them, and they drank, and then the fucking genie's out of the bottle. And the genie has more than 3 wishes for you, man. It may have a lot of fucking wishes for you that you fucking wish that never would have happened. Yeah. I used to see it later on in the program. There was like a 20-year syndrome. I'd see a lot of people who would leave around 20 years. Yeah. And they had been living in the grace of no urge, no drive to do whatever. And then somehow or another, the first drink snuck in, driven by the mental condition. And then the urge came back, and they were completely surprised when I'd hear them talk at meetings. They had no fucking idea. It had been gone so long, they thought it never existed. There it was again. They wanted the drink while they were sitting in the meeting. It was mind-boggling, really. So me listening to people, and some of them I was friends with, some of them never came back, and they died terribly. They died from an overdose, drunk, and then pills. And when I went to their memorial, their siblings and their mother and father were happy it was over. That's how bad it was for like 8 years. They were happy it was over for their daughter. That's incredible. Yeah. So just stay in the water, man. Stay on the operating table. Don't get up. Don't believe the nonsense that's being downloaded from the head. Hopefully, ask for the wisdom to know the difference between the head and the heart, so to speak. You can use the serenity prayer in that way. Yeah. Please give me the wisdom to know the difference to what I'm listening to. Yeah. Am I listening to the head or to the heart? And you can tell by the evidence. The head just promotes more anxiety. The heart hopefully will bring an ease and comfort. I don't like the word heart, but I'm using it as something different than the head. Yeah? Yeah. Please, let me have the wisdom to know the difference. Let me have the wisdom to know the difference between false evidence and evidence. Yes? Yeah. See what happens. If something has allowed you to get sober and stay sober, it can do lots of other stuff, man, if you're just willing to open up to it. Yeah. It may have plans for you. It's just wait, and it's itching to apply those plans. It just has to wait for you to give up your plans and your designs. That's all. It'll step in. Yeah. And do what? I don't know. You'll find out. Yeah. You will. I believe you'll be a happy camper. I'm just amazed completely, really. Completely amazed. Yeah. By this program. And the transformations are just mind-boggling. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. We didn't even start the meeting. So whatever. I'm happy to share. There is a solution. Wow. And they should have a follow-up, and it's not yours. A little smaller print, but very emphasized. There is a solution, and it's not yours. Isn't that the beauty of the inventory? If you just do an inventory, just 4 columns, the inventory will produce a different answer than your head produces. It does. Yeah. Now you may say no to the information from the inventory and follow the head, and then you usually learn the hard way. Shit hits the fan, and then yeah. But you basically get one answer just through the 4 columns, looking at your own things, and then your answer. And this is about building the ability to have the wisdom to know the difference between your answer and their answer. Yeah. Because your answer could lead to a big fucking problem. It has before. So, yeah. You want to open it up, do a reading or whatever? Say goodbye. I'm plotting the takeover.
There's no hands up.
Island of Jura. I'm plotting the takeover. As soon as you said 200, it's feasible. 200 people, it's feasible. Yeah. You'll be hearing from us. Yeah, Linton. You're gonna get it's gonna be encrypted messages.
I'll keep an eye out on the horizon for you. I see the sales
It's gonna
coming.
be T of J. It's takeover of Jura.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the title of the messages. All right. D-Day.
D-Day.
We'll attack on the only sunny day in Scotland.
Yeah. I'll book it in for next year.
So we'll take over in plain sight. They won't know what's going on. They'll be blinded by the light, literally. All right. So thanks, Mike, or whoever. Who's running the show?
I am. If there's any questions for Paul, feel free to raise your hands or just come in.
Right.
It's me, yeah.
Nice to see you, Martin.
Nice to see you too.
Sorry I ran over the starting line, but just the way.
That's all good. No worries. No questions, it seems like.
Well, let's just go back to the basic where it started, the understanding that we're attempting. Everything is based on this one understanding, a clear recognition of the difference between self and us. Yeah, it's captured very well on page 64, probably the third paragraph. It starts with a requirement that's seems to be quite necessary, especially in the beginning of AA, which is being convinced. So being convinced, one of the definitions of being convinced is to believe with certainty. Yeah. Okay, so being convinced, and now they're going to say of what? Self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. Okay, that's it. Condition is being convinced, yeah, of what? Self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. Okay, now what do we do next? Well, next we're now going to look at its common manifestations. It's implying self, yeah? It's not implying you or any aspect of us. It's implying self. Us is what has been defeated. Self is what is the defeater, let's say, yeah? We are the defeatee, so to speak. Okay? We are now going to look at its common manifestations. So if you follow this logic of presentation, the next paragraph, it's a very small little white paper leap to the next paragraph, and it says resentment. So resentment is seen as a manifestation of self in our life. Be clear about it. That is the diagnosis in the big book. Who knows, was it Bill's diagnosis? Bill's diagnosis changes a lot. Bill's diagnosis changes when he writes the 12 and 12. But I'm talking about something coming through. Yeah. So self manifested in various ways. Do we see that? No. Can we see it? Yes. If we do an inventory, we can see self manifesting in various ways. Do we see it usually during the day? No, we don't. Because again, we're under a trance of the parasitical movement of self. So the host doesn't know what's going on. Just like it says a lot of points in the big book, without knowing it, you know, the person is extremely selfish or self-centered, but doesn't think so. So there's the living and the ability to know the parasitical event, but we're sort of tranced out or numbed, yeah? Like we've been anesthesiaed. Anesthesiaed? I don't know if that's a word, but we've been shot up and something's doing to us while we're seemingly out to lunch, yeah? That's the feeling I have. So resentment is a manifestation of self. So is fear. Fear is not what you're experiencing usually. If you're laying back on the pillow in a nice little place, it's not fear, it's mental anxiety. Now, mental anxiety plays a built-in instrument called fear that's meant to be played when a circumstance in life at this moment is threatening us, like a dog attack or shit like that. You're going to have an emotion of fear. Sometimes it will coincide with a drop of adrenaline. Your body's going to secrete the fight or flight mechanism. Yes? That's fear. That is fear. Most of us suffer from mental anxiety. So mental anxiety, the head knows what the instrument of fear is there and strums the strings. Yes, it plays the instrument of fear with a lullaby or a fucking nightmare of what's not happening, like past and future, and it strums it. And then you're sitting on a comfortable couch in a comfortable day with a comfortable temperature, with comfortable pajamas, but you're feeling totally freaking flipped out. Yes. That's a demonstration of faith in the finite self, because the finite self is presenting its story in the mental activity, which is mostly rooted in thoughts. Yeah. So thoughts are being played and they're playing us, really. They are, because we have great faith in the thoughts, because we actually believe they're ours. Yeah. And it's hard for us to believe that we would be our own worst enemy. It does. It would. Yeah. Wouldn't it? If something was the only sound, the only voice of a GPS you've ever heard has been this voice in your head, you probably had an innocent assumption that it's looking out for your better condition. Yes. I mean, it's there to further you and others' well-being and welfare. It's very surprising to realize we've been relying on something completely failed. Like Hal just took over the mission. It's like 2001. It's just, and I think this stubborn idea, just like the stubborn idea of, even though my whole life shows me I'm not managerial quality, I still believe if I could only manage better, everything would be great. Yeah. This stubbornness, I don't believe is natural. I believe it's artificial. I believe it's sort of like the venom of the parasite. Yeah. It's very difficult for us to see the simple recognition that we've been fucked by something. Yeah. We look for every other reason not to address the elephant in the room, because I humbly believe we may be appearing as its nose, but we think we're the elephant somehow. So we're defending the right to be selfish and drunk and this or that, and you would if I was, and this and that. It's just amazing. Yeah. So this breaking down the alignment or the identification as that which has defeated you, I think, is the basic root of the relief from it. Yeah, is to recognize you're not that which has defeated you. If you feel like you're your own worst enemy, you're listening to something that's other than you. Yeah, that's just the way it looks to me. So this is what we present over the years. And now we've been presenting it for years on Zoom. And I hope, unless I get a big news broadcast or a revelatory event and change the way I see it, we're going to be seeing it this way. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. And it's based on this recognition that word self that's used so much in the big book of AA is not implying me. It's implying something foreign to me. And it's just has worked. It's worked in this life. And I don't think this life is much different than your life, because I was living under the tyranny of the same thing you've been living under. So I don't need to, I am so uniquely different. How could I share this? Maybe with family members with the same genealogy or DNA. No, you've been fucked by the same thing that fucked me. Let's be honest. Yeah. That's how we meet. When you share about what it was like living as you, the you that you're not, it sounds very familiar to how it felt when I was living under this you, the you that I'm not. So I feel like I have complete license to share what I'm going to share, because it's not a personal share. It's an impersonal share about something that feels super personal, but it ain't personal. Yeah. You've been taken over by the same thing I've been taken over, the same thing that took over Tom and Bill and Kerry and everyone else. Yeah, there's such a commonality of it. And its venom is to think to cause you to believe this commonality is unique and very, no one has the thoughts I have. Give me a freaking break. Jesus Christ. No one felt like I felt. Yeah. Go to an AA meeting. No one did the heinous things that I did. Yeah, you'll find plenty of it. Yeah. This is just these are the most fragile bubbles. They'll be popped so easily. The terminal uniqueness, it's all shared. Yeah. This is a shared terminal uniqueness. It's not a natural terminal uniqueness. It's shared. Yeah. Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. Well, everyone here looks at me as a you, yes? I look at all of you as a you. But how do I look at this? Me. How do you look at this you? You, me. It's me. Yeah. Me is the defining terminal uniqueness of the golden calf built by self. Me. That's the crowning coronation of being way up a fucking uniquely terminal phenomena ass of self. Yeah. No, I need a specialist. No, you just need a fucking divine proctologist to pull your head out of the ass, listen to the program, and just start doing what we do and going where you go. And we're going to be relieved of the bondage of self. Yeah. No, my ass is much farther than your ass. It doesn't matter. Distance doesn't fucking matter. It's going to take longer. Time doesn't matter. Yeah. I want my own family doctor. Fuck you. It's a common situation. Let anyone put their hand up your ass. Just get the shit down. Get that self out of there. These are my private parts. No, they're not really. You've been getting it up the ass for years with this thing. It's like the Holland Tunnel right now. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So, I mean, you can joke about it from the relief stage. You can. But I understand when I hear people and people I know, I've been around a while, so I've known people that have gone in and out for 15, 16 years. Yeah. I mean, if you didn't get civilized, you'd be crying all day, literally. And then the mother turns into an alcoholic because of the son, and on, you know, dies from liver failure, and just goes on and on. This is not a uniquely, this infection infects everything it meets, so to speak. Yeah. So, all right. We don't have a topic. Anyone want to share? It's fine. Question. Oh, it's turned into a meditation meeting. Great. I'm going to sit here for 15 minutes. Can I say one thing? No one wants to say something? Let's go to step 11. What's the important part of the step? People say prayer meditation. I don't believe so. It says to improve one's conscious contact. That's the point. The point of meditation and prayer is to improve one's conscious contact. Some people have difficulty sitting down or what they call formal meditation, but they love walking by the creek or anything like that. Do they humbly believe or not believe that walking by the creek is not improving their conscious contact? Being in nature is not improving it? Of course it's improving it, yeah? Prayer. Some people they've never been introduced to prayer. They don't come from that kind of family, yeah? But how about just sitting in observing life being nice to you, yeah? And life being nice to others and having gratitude. Isn't that a prayer? Yeah. So it says, there's a suggestion that through prayer and meditation, to improve one's conscious contact. But remember, the point is to improve one's conscious contact. That's what we've been doing the whole program. Why is it? You would say you're conscious, yes? But the conscious contact with the head has made us unconscious. We need conscious contact with the spirit to bring us back to a state we've never lost, was becoming conscious again. Some people are they're so self-aware, you would think that would be super consciousness, but they're unconscious. But they're following every thought like unbelievably in their head. So this is about breaking a conscious contact that causes us to seem to be unconscious, and then through another conscious contact that brings us into the condition of a spiritual awakening. Yeah. Is the head bringing you into a condition of spiritual awakening, or is it usually just giving you the same old, same old? Yeah. So we're awake, but we need to be awake to that. Our awakeness has been made unconscious by our contact with the head. And the faith we have in the head has brought us into an incredible imagined condition that we're unconscious, even though we are consciousness. Yeah. So admitting that truth in our situation is going to change that truth in the situation. Yeah, because it's not true. So we do what we do, and suddenly our conscious contact with this program produces a spiritual awakening. It's not like we wake up out of a sleep. We wake up to the fact that we're awake. Yeah. Where before we were sleeping about that idea of awakeness. Yeah. Now we're awake to it. And what do we do now? Maybe, all right, I'm going to take the agenda that's been offered in step 12. I'm going to stay sober, help other people to achieve sobriety, and practice these principles in all my affairs. And if I can't do that right now, I'll limit the affairs. Yeah. There you go. So now we've been brought back into conscious contact. Not that we weren't conscious, we were conscious of something that's not us. Yeah. So that made us unconscious to the unsuspected inner resource, which is now suspected. Yes. Without knowing it, now we're in a knowing it. Yeah. So yeah. And now we're established in some sound footing. We're established in relying on the infinite instead of relying on the finite self. And how does it look relying on the finite self? Believing the thoughts in your head. Having abject faith in those thoughts have led you to your own bottom. Yeah. Yeah. So breathing right now improves my conscious contact. Yeah, it does. Sitting improves my conscious contact. Being conscious improves one's conscious contact. It does. I'm serious. Yeah. No heavy lifting. This is like I don't have to go through the 10 challenges of Hercules in spirituality. I just lose interest in self, and all of these things become obvious. I'm here now. Did I seem to do anything to arrive here now? No. It's like I've been parachuted and I wake up and here I am. But I've realized every situation, every condition has never broken the parameters of here now, ever, ever. What's not happening is not happening right now. It isn't. Now, what's not happening may be happening in my head, which is the here and now, but what it's talking about is not happening. And I have the eyes to see that. Yeah. Yeah. So when the head's saying, you're not really sober, it gets, the message is before that, I'm sober. Yeah. So when it tries to convince me I'm not sober, it tries to convince me and I'm sober. Yeah. So I don't fall for it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So here we are, another lovely day. How do you want to stay sober? Be sober. Yeah. There you go. I'm in the habit of being sober. It's the easiest thing in the world for me right now, is to be sober. It demands nothing. Just don't pick up a drink. Gotcha. Very clear. Thank you. Keep your house clean. Be of service. Yep, I got it. Checks in every 10 years. How you doing? Good. Thank you. Thank you. You cannot believe how much gratitude I have. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Comes back after 10 years. All right. Doing all right? Yeah. Okay. The problem does not exist for you. Have you ever met a solution that was that incredible? Usually you get a rash and you get the right ointment, but you get the rash again next year. Yeah. Here, the problem will not exist for you anymore. What? What an incredible solution. Yeah, it won't exist for you. And it would definitely won't exist as you. That's the clarity, really. Yeah. Self does not get sober. Self tolerates sobriety. It tolerates it because it knows it's lost, but it's still going to fuck around. It tolerates it. It never opens its arm and embraces sobriety. It doesn't. It saw it as a threat. It sees it as a threat. Yeah. Self doesn't get sober. We're sober concerning the self. Yeah. 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 You know, you ever see those lion tamers and the lions act really nice for like 10 years or 12 years. And then one day the fucking lion just eats them in front of the whole circus, just rips their head off. Had a lion nature. What are you going to do? Yeah. Self is similar. 20 years of sobriety, the person, I'm going to have wine with this lovely fish, white wine. Next day, I'm going to go to lunch. I have a craving for a fish again, another wine. And then whammo, completely fucked. Yes. Seriously. I mean, it's like, you remember they had those parameters about Dracula? You had to really study because it's very important. He had to be invited in. You had to realize, because see, if you didn't invite him in, all the other shit was needless. Like it says in AA, all this would be academic if you just don't pick up the first drink. But if you let Dracula in, then you have a whole lot of problems. Yeah. But it says he can't come in. You have to invite him in. What? Yeah. You have to invite him in. And then once he's in, wow, he's going to fucking go bananas. But he won't come in. That's incredible, eh? Sort of sounds like the parasite in a way. Yeah. If you get into the habit of not listening to it, all of its powers may still be there, but they're neutered because you're not letting it in. That's all. Yeah. And then it tries to knock on the side door, the back door, says it's from Jehovah's Witness or, sell vacuum cleaners. Somehow it wants to get in, but you recognize it as Dracula every time. It's like, remember that's Saturday Night Live. They had that land shark thing where the land shark was bringing a pizza. I don't think I ordered a pizza. And they, as soon as they open the door, the shark eats them. So this is sort of like that in a weird way. Yeah. It goes knock, 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 but he can't come in. Yeah. Oh, is it that terrible? Oh, it's bothering my head than being, strapped in a gurney after fighting with the cops, handcuffed, fucking a little bit of discomfort in the head. Is nothing like what happens when it gets out, is it? 5:58 before 7-Eleven opens. You have 65 cents. You're hoping they'll forgive the tax on the vodka bottle. Yeah. We've been relieved of all that. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Could you imagine if you woke up with that incredible thing? You wouldn't be thinking about a Zoom meeting at 11 o'clock or 10:30, would you? No. 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 You'd be occupied by so much other stuff. Did you ever have it where you were subdued? Let's say you had a big problem with cocaine, and then you were subdued, and then just you were sitting there with a woman who somehow you knew in a car, and then suddenly the word cocaine appeared in the head, and then everything would switch because you realize you have no money, and then you start trying to talk the woman who was driving, who had followed this equation you were presenting many times, had proved to be very unsatisfying for her, which you'd be trying to talk her, let's get some beer, get some Coke, rent the hotel room, get the dirty magazines. Yeah, you were fine. And just one thought came in. Cocaine triggered the whole thing. It used to happen to me all the time out there. Yeah. I'd be okay until I wasn't okay. And it was really like Hyde and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, truly, but I grew a beard in a second. I mean, it was just fucking nasty. And I would be relentless. As soon as the cocaine word came in and lit that up, I was like a pit bull. I would not fucking stop. They'd have to kick me out of the car or something because I would just, you think that's you? That's like, you ever see the movie The Manchurian Candidate? They have the Chinese or the Chinese, they program this guy to fuck up the American government. And they have a word that's going to trigger the whole thing. And they called it the Manchurian Candidate. Well, to me, it was like the word cocaine or something. Yeah. The urge would just fucking rip people new ones. It was incredible. How can you come out of that and think that you were the driver? That you did all this stuff? You were used for transportation. Something took you over. And it doesn't have an arm to express what arms express. It doesn't have legs to go where it wanted to go. It convinces us to do what it wants to do. I shot up coke with spit right at a hospital. The hospital was like a huge thing, pulsating a health message. You never fucking shoot up intravenously with saliva. There it was, pounding the hospital. I fucking shot up with spit. And of course, what happened? I got a huge abscess, had to go to a street clinic, get it pulled out. They stick just like toilet paper in there. Just a big fucking hole in your arm. Had all the knowledge not to do it. I knew saliva doesn't go well. It didn't fucking matter. Something overrode it, and I did what it wanted me to do. Over and over again. After a while, you're going to be sure it's you. You've been calling it you. You've been following it as you. And then you're basically it. Yeah? And then you go to an AA meeting and, oh, I hate this. This stuff sucks. And da, da, da. That's not one bit of what was said in your head was yours. Not one bit of it. It was a living fucking activity, wanting to keep on living as you. Yeah. So. Get to the, we are recovered. Let's get recovered. Let's get into the recovery from the exact nature of the wrong. Yeah. Self is what has defeated us. Don't be fooled by it. Self is not us. Yeah. Do an inventory on self's manifestations. And when you do the inventory of self's manifestation resentment, catch yourself when you keep calling it your resentment. This is the bondage of self. Yeah. The handcuff is laid there, but you put them on. You put them on every day like a bracelet. Yeah. You're calling the manifestations of self yours. That's a pretty big indication something's going on. Yeah. If you're a big book thumper and you really believe the big book, well, believe it. Self and us are not the same thing. They're not. Self is what has defeated us through its manifestations. We're going to look at its manifestations, and they've been called our manifestations our whole life. That's one of the reasons why we've had them for so long. Yeah. If you see a resentment in the wild, it usually doesn't last long, does it? You're super pissed at a guy who cut you off a couple of miles down the road. If you don't do anything, it's dissipated. Yes. But when you call it my resentment, you feed it, you give it life for 60 years. Some people's whole life is based on a seeming slight that never even actually happened when they were young, and they've been carrying it for 50 years like a fucking domesticated chinchilla or something, just feeding it and petting it all day. I'd do anything to be rid of you, but no, of course. The chinchilla is just getting the petting. All your yapping, I'd do anything to be rid of you, isn't translating to the chinchilla. No. I don't know. I'm sharing it. That's all. Just look at my resentment. Isn't there a huge difference? If you can't see that, look at money, my money. I want everyone here to have a lot of money. I don't want you to have any of my money. Yeah. My changes everything. If you call a resentment yours, the resentment's going to have you for a long fucking time. It is. Good luck. So, all right. I think we fulfilled a lovely hour.
There was a question of Linton earlier, I believe. Linton, you still want to come in?
Yes.
Hey there, Paul. No, it's only when you were talking about step 11. I was just wondering what your take on prayer was in that, because prayer comes up a lot throughout the big book. I think pretty much all the steps have got some kind of prayer associated with them. And I know for myself, I never prayed as much as when I was using, and it never seemed to amount to very much. And it's definitely something, part of the book that I struggle with, or kind of find it difficult to connect to. I was wondering what your experience of it is.
My experience of it is I used prayer a lot in the beginning. As soon as I started get into the habit of being physically sober, I was super afraid of what was going to run my day. So when I woke up, I'd say the first three steps in a certain way. I'd say, my name is Paul. I'm powerless over alcohol, and I'm not managerial quality. I've come to believe something can do for me what I can't do for myself. And I asked that thing. Yes, I did the third step. I turned my will and life over to that thing. Did it every day for 5 years, pretty much. And then I stopped doing it. The same thing in the beginning. I had a was not grateful much at all. So every time something good happened, I would say, thank you, God, that was more than enough. And so I would use that, and then that did its job, and then it stopped, and I've never done it again. Yeah. So a lot of the prayers I used was because of a huge absence. That absence isn't there anymore. So I'm not a lover of doing prayer just for the sake of praying. So other people are, and they express exquisite gratitude by saying a prayer every morning that they've learned since they've been sober. That's not been how I've grown. I have a real joy of having skillful means, but not using them. I think that's great. Yeah. So in my life, this is just personal, like you said, prayer was used until a certain point, and then it wasn't needed or wasn't used anymore. And I'm pretty much like that now.
Yeah.
Serenity prayer completely depended on that as a fire alarm, during my first few years. It would be a perfect manufactured pause to stop the whole train of selfing going on by just saying the serenity prayer. And I like the we version better than the I version. Yeah. So I've used stuff. I don't do anything now. but that's not, I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend what works for you. And I don't know what that is. This is how it's worked with me. Yeah. I don't have like a prayer, you know, with the beautiful calligraphy. I mean, but I love it. I mean, I love that. I do. I respect it, but that's not how it's played out for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Because there's a lot, isn't there? There's a whole section about, you know, only those who haven't tried it, you know, those contempt prior to investigation, and about particularly around prayer. It seems like one of those points. But I think trusting hang on, Dax, 2 seconds. Trusting the process and the change.
Prayer could be hoping for something that's seemingly not there, or it can be an expression of the abundance of what you were looking for at one time being available now. So it matters how the song is sung, not the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone who's not a bird sings the song of a bird different than a bird does. So let's say you believe you're not a bird, but I believe through the effect of this program, you'll realize you're a bird that can sing. You may not have to follow a written thing. Yes. Yeah, that's just the way it went with me so far. Maybe I'll start praying. I don't know today. I'm praying that this is going to be over soon. This yeah.
Cool. Cool.
But that's my experience. Yes, my experience is I did a lot of stuff that was needed to do, but a lot of the stuff that was needed to do isn't needed to do now. And I think I've been given the ability to recognize what's going on. Yeah. So sometimes if you keep applying a certain medication, it's going to produce the opposite effect of the medication. Yes. We had it beautifully here one day. We were talking about the third step prayer. And this guy, and a guy from the UK started sharing, and he says, wow, I've been doing the third step, and he's been sober a long time. I've been doing the third step prayer every day. Please relieve me of the bondage of self. But by just being at this meeting, I've recognized the head has been using it to hide the fact that you're in the state of being relieved from the bondage of self. The prayer is still acting as if you're in the bondage of self, and please relieve us. And he saw how the head was using the prayer to avoid the present tense condition of being relieved of the bondage of self. It's a beautiful share. This is sort of what I'm speaking about. Yeah. I knew guys that I worked with that I had to tell them stop taking inventory because they weren't enjoying their sobriety, and their inventory had become a form of obsession with self. Yeah, so there's this is why you need a mentor or a sponsor. You got to be open, or other people, because a lot of us have been in the process of recovery, and there's tons of mistakes we've made and tons of things that were revealed that you wouldn't have been aware of. Like a lot of times in the beginning, you're going to be willing to help anyone, but then you realize sometimes you're doing a person a disservice trying to keep them from their bottom. Yeah. Like the bottom is going to be the great convincer, and you're trying to delay that. And that's not fucking compassion. That's enabling. So yeah, you just learn a whole lot by being sober and, dancing with the community over the years. Yeah. So your stance, one stance that doesn't change is you're sober. Yeah. So now you're not praying as much, but sober. And you were praying a lot, sober. Yeah. 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 Sober is the continuum. And then things that you do while sober can, emphasize this, unemphasize that, but the sobriety doesn't get unemphasized. Yeah. Sober. Yeah. I can pray sober, or I can stay sober not praying. Yeah. 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 So I hope that helped.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye to everyone, and we'll take off today. Sean. Is this Minnesota? Pretty sure it's Minnesota. Yes. Dennis W. Nice to see you, Dennis. Kerry, as always, your lovely significant other. Nice. Yeah. Martin, thank you for the job, bro. Axel, as always. The matriarch of Madeira. There she is. Yeah. Linton. Yeah, you're going to get the encrypted messages of D-Day. The day Zen Bitch Slapped arrived.
I'm all in.
Nikki, nice to see you, Nikki. Thanks for putting up with us. Joseph C., as always, France. Miak, there she is back, and I think she's in East Bay. No, South Bay. Yeah, there she is. Tom, a little different than the water and the window. Ah, Paradise Lost. Tom, Denver. Kathy, I'm not going to even try to say your last name, but how about Kathy Cand? Zoloco in Maine. Oh, Kathy. Oh, I just recognized Kathy.
Hey,
It's
good to
okay.
see you. I moved back to Maine to take care of my dad. I miss you guys.
Oh, nice to see you, honey. Thanks for blessing us with your appearance.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, stay in touch, eh? Yeah, good. Roman Mueller, as always. Ah, the sky. It's looking nice in Germany. Everett C. Nelson. Nice to see you, Everett. Terry Camarillo, a longtime member of AA. Bill Churchman. Thank you, Bill, for the donation. Yes. I'll try to spend it unwisely, if possible. Michael Stacy. Always. Miss Volkman. We got Kathy in Cleveland. Kathy, I know we haven't met, but I feel very close to you, Kathy. You showing up, I remember. I'm happy that you've come to this meeting.
Thank you. And thank you for all you've taught me. I really got a lot out of today.
Oh, great, great. Well, thank you. Yep. Peter S. Nice to see Peter. Say hello to Vlad if you see him around there. John K. Oliver K. Ruben. I'm going to just, Van Roon. Oh, I got it close. Ruben Van Roon. Wow, that's awesome. We've got Atara. Nice pose, very nice. John in Florida. Mike M. Adam A. I can't, it's a weird, I think this is Welcome Back Kata or something. That show, where it is. Oh, yeah. Bitterman, no. Says no, Bitterman. Fletch. Nice to see you, Fletch. Give me a call tomorrow, bro, if you can. Phone number, Jeffrey in Seattle, Christine in Tahiti. Wow. Is this Christine from Kona? She's now in Tahiti. This
Aloha,
is
Paul. Yeah. I'm in Tahiti. Everybody says aloha. Not aloha, but yeah, we're in Tahiti today.
Well, listen, Christine, you're going to be anointed. You're going to be our island emissary. We're going to,
Ah, gotcha.
you're going to be like a little missionary.
Mahalo. Yeah, it's in bitch left spreading the word. Yeah, I got to get a t-shirt for sure.
All right, thank you. Ben, Jazz in London, JASR, Tom M. Thank you, everyone. Have a good, we're here today at 4:30 Pacific time. Same Zoom, different topic. And I'll see you guys hopefully soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.